Hi everyone, I'm your mentor Janak Awasthi from Janak Lecture Series. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing us. We cover all the topics on the basic medical science. If you are here, you are at the right place. So without any further ado, let's get started. So this one is the first lecture on the neuroscience. We'll be talking about the organization of the nervous system. How actually the nervous system is organized, what are the different components of the nervous system. That's what we'll be talking about in this lecture. Let's start. The first question is, what's nervous system? The nervous system is a very complex system composed of neurons and the supporting cells called neuroglial cells. So the main functions of the nervous system is to transmit the signals from the higher center to the periphery and carry the information from periphery to the higher centers. So the nervous system is actually involved in transmitting the signals between the different parts of the body. That's what nervous system is doing. After defining the nervous system, let's classify the nervous system. So the nervous system could be classified into two different categories, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, abbreviated as CNS and PNS respectively. But this one is just the anatomical classifications. We can classify the nervous system on the basis of their functions as well. Now, let's talk about the central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of two different parts. The first one is the brain and the next is the spinal cord. Being the very important and the vital centers of our body, they remains very well protected by a bony protections called as skull, which is protecting the brain, and the spinal canal within the vertebral column is offering a protections to the spinal cord, and they are additionally protected by a tough covering called meninges. Meninges which covers the brain is known as cranial meninges, and the meninges which covers the spinal cord is known as spinal meninges. And both of these structures are continuous with one another and they have the three different layers. So outer one is dura mater, intermediate one is arachnoid matter, and the innermost is pia mater. And there is a space in between the arachnoid matter and pia mater, which we call as subarachnoid space, and the fluid is present within the subarachnoid space, which is cerebrospinal fluid, and that offers extra protections to the brain and the spinal cord. And the CSF is present not only in the subarachnoid space, but it is also present within the ventricles and the central canal of the spinal cord. Now, let's talk about the components of the brain. So the brain has three different components according to the locations. The first is forebrain, the next is midbrain, and the third one is the hindbrain. According to the name suggests, the forebrain is located in the front, the midbrain is located in between the forebrain and hindbrain, whereas the hindbrain is located at the back. Now let's see the components of these three different parts. The forebrain consists of the cerebral hemisphere, but within the cerebral hemisphere there are a lot of structures like cerebral cortex, thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, hippocampus, basal ganglia, and there are a lot of other components of the white matter as well, which we'll cover on the upcoming lectures. And the part of brain which is located in the middle is known as midbrain itself. The part which is present at the back are pons, medulla, and cerebellum. So togetherly, midbrain, pons, and medulla is known as brainstem. So grossly, we can say that the brain consists of three parts: brainstem, cerebellum, and cerebrum. So let's see this thing on the picture. We can see here the brainstem, midbrain on the top, pons lying in between, and medulla oblongata on the caudal side. Located behind the brainstem is cerebellum, and located on the top of both of this structure is the cerebrum. The medulla oblongata actually continues downward into the spinal canal as a spinal cord. So spinal cord is actually the continuation of the medulla oblongata. Now, after talking about the brain, let's talk about the another different components of the central nervous system, which is spinal cord. So spinal cord consists of 5 different segments according to the level of the vertebral column. From rostral to caudal, there are cervical segment, thoracic segment, lumbar segment, sacral segment, and coccygeal segments. And from each of these segments, the spinal nerves do arise. Now, after talking about the central nervous system, let's talk about the peripheral nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system actually consists of nerves arising from brain or spinal cord. That's why they are called as cranial nerves and the spinal nerves, respectively. So there are 12 pairs of the nerves which arise from the brain, and there are 31 pairs of the nerves arising from the spinal cord. So depending upon the segments, there are 8 pairs of nerves arising from the cervical segment, 12 from the thoracic segment, 5 from the lumbar segment, 5 from the sacral segment, and 1 pair of nerve is arising from the coccygeal segment. Altogether, 31 pairs of nerves do arise from the spinal cord. So togetherly, the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves constitute the peripheral nervous system. So this was the anatomical classifications of peripheral nerves, but this could be divided on the basis of their functions as well. Let's see that. So functionally, peripheral nerves could be divided on the basis of their information which they carry. So they could be divided into 2 different parts: the sensory nerves or afferent nerve. So they carry the information from sense organ to the higher centers, brain and the spinal cord, where the informations are being processed. And the brain and the spinal cords give some instructions which go to the periphery through another different set of nerve, which is called motor nerve or efferent nerve. So the motor nerve and the efferent nerve, they carry the impulse from the central nervous system to the effector organ. So effector organ could be either muscles or glands. So depending upon what type of organs do motor nerve regulate, they could be divided into 2 different categories: the autonomic nerves and the somatic nerves. That's why we can also say as autonomic nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So autonomic nervous system again consists of 2 different divisions: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So autonomic nervous system is mainly regulating the involuntary system, which is smooth muscles, cardiac muscles and glands, whereas the somatic nervous system is regulating the voluntary system of our body, that is the skeletal muscles. So this was the functional classifications of the nervous system. So with this we come to the end of our lecture, but before wrapping up, let's recapitulate what we have studied. We classified nervous system into 2 different categories: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of brain and a spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves arising from the brain, called as cranial nerves, which are in 12 pairs, and the spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord, which are 31 pairs, so which togetherly constitute the peripheral nervous system. And the nerves could be classified on the basis of what type of informations do they carry. So they are sensory nerve and the motor nerve. So the motor nerve could be classified again on the basis of what type of organs do they regulate, which is comprising of the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. So with this we come to the end of our lecture. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like the content. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.